Welcome. We are back with another episode of the White Mountain Endurance. I'm your host, Patrick Caron, and I'm joined by Marylyn Stiles, our race director for the White Mountain Endurance series. Welcome, Marylyn.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great to have you. So we are about, 5 nights away from the Chocorua Mountain Race. Very exciting kickoff to the White Mountain Endurance Cup. So we are here today to chat about the race, go over some of the details and the schedule, as well as the course and some of the top contenders who will be competing on Saturday morning. So very excited to dive into that. But first, I wanted to mention that it's the 1 year anniversary of this podcast. So congrats to us
Congratulations.
for making it this far. Thanks to everyone who has been listening from the beginning or watching on YouTube. We're excited to, go into this next season. And yeah, just lots of fun stuff ahead. So we'll just quickly talk about the calendar. We had White Lake Ultras this past month, back in May, and that was a really exciting weekend. White Lake State Park, some really incredible performances all around from both men and women, and several course records broken in some challenging conditions. It was pretty muddy out there, right, Marilyn?
It was, yes.
Yeah. That was a tough night for runners. But yeah, it was super just inspiring. Like Sunday morning, just the number of runners who are still on course and in those final hours coming in. And yeah, just, achieving what they set out for. So yeah, that's, you know, in the rear view now, and Chocorua Mountain Race coming up this weekend on June 7th. Which is also, the kickoff to the White Mountain Endurance Cup, which we'll get into a little bit more in a moment. Also on the calendar this summer is Race the Cog on June 28th, with both the Summit Climb and the Devil's Shingle Round Tripper. So up and down to the summit of Mount Washington and back to the base. We have, I think, just 28 spots left in the field after adding some additional ones. So it's going to be the biggest year yet at Race the Cog. So yeah, if you have it on your radar, sign up soon to make sure you get a spot in this year's event. And then Baldface Scramble, which was the first year last year, but I think it kind of quickly became a fan favorite. Pretty special course. And that will be returning on July 26th. So there's both the 29K and the 14K. Marilyn, what would you say about Baldface? Some of the quick highlights.
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited for the second year. The first year, obviously we weren't really sure what was going to happen. It was an amazing course, amazing event. The property that the start finishes on is absolutely beautiful. The family that owns that property are amazing. They're wonderful. So it's just such a great atmosphere, and the course itself is so much fun. Everybody had so much fun. It was challenging because of the slabs and the ledges, but yet it was doable. So everybody was like so proud that they finished this
Yeah.
amazing course. And so just afterwards, everybody hanging out at the finish line and having some food and listening to music and just talking about, their experience was so great.
Yeah, the
So I'm really
setting
looking forward to
was
this year because it's going to be
setting
even
was
better.
so special, like that field and the farm
Mm-hmm.
there. And really grateful that they have opened up that space for us. And yeah, the course itself has such a like mystical, sort of magical like element to it. I mean, if anyone hasn't seen the video that Cody and Ethan put together from the race last year, definitely after this podcast, go check that out on their Viper Running YouTube. Just some really gorgeous single track in the woods there. So yeah, that'll be July 26th, and then the big one of the season, Jigger Johnson Ultras, August 15th and 16th and 17th. Both the 100 miler, the 50 miler, and the 20 miler in Waterville, Valley, New Hampshire. Definitely one of the hardest hundreds around, we are proud to say. And yeah, that one's also really, spots are going quick. I think there's only 60 spots left. On track to be, yeah, the biggest field across all the distances. So that'll probably sell out in the next, probably this month in June. And we haven't announced it here on the podcast. We might do a more of a deep dive in another episode, but the Black Bear Trail Races are joining the White Mountain Endurance calendar this year. Also in Waterville Valley, New Hampshire, where the Jigger Johnson Ultras are hosted. Those will be on August 30th and 31st. We'll have a 50K, a 23K, a 4 mile, and a 1 mile fun run. Marylyn, do you want to share a little more about the Black Bear Trail Races?
So yeah, the Black Bear Trail Races, they have such an amazing local following. They're a favorite of the locals, and we have it's the start finishes right in Waterville Valley, which is also where Jigger Johnson is. So it's a great start finish right there at the town center, and it's great for families to come and watch and hang out and spectate. Or there's so many different distances. There's a lot of options for you know for families and friends to all join in and do a different race, whatever suits them. So yeah, we're really looking forward to adding them to our calendar.
Yeah, it's definitely a great, yeah, family friendly
Mm-hmm.
event and
Very.
weekend. Yeah, so that'll be 2 weeks after Jigger Johnson. I'm calling the Jigger Johnson 20 mile and Black Bear Trail Race 50K, the Waterville Valley Whopper. That's the the name I've turned. So if you do those back to back, props to you.
Yep.
But yeah, some challenging courses in the Waterville Valley area. And last but not least, the Kilkenny Ridge Race on September 20th, with the 50 mile, the 25 mile, and the 25K. And yeah, that's our 2025 calendar. Um, the, like we said, Race the Cog and Jigger Johnson are on track to sell out soon. So make sure to don't wait around for those if you want to participate. Um, and yeah, to get into the White Mountain Endurance Cup, this will be the second season of the White Mountain Endurance Cup. It was a really great success last year, I thought, just in terms of both the participation, the coverage that both Ethan and Cody did, in terms of the videos that they produced, and just the stories amongst the athletes competing. I thought added a really dynamic and exciting element to the season. So for those unfamiliar, the White Mountain Endurance Cup is 4 sub-ultra distance mountain courses within our series. So starting with the Chocorua Mountain 23K, then the Bald Face Scramble 29K, Jigger Johnson 20 miler, and Kilkenny Ridge 25K. And in terms of participation, you're automatically, entered in the series as a runner in Chocorua Mountain. So there's nothing additional you need to do. Some people have registered for the season pass in advance. So this year we offered a way to register for all 4 races in advance. Commit to the cup and save a little money. But you can also, yeah, register for each event individually if you haven't registered for the pass. And yeah, the way it works is you have to complete at least 3 of the 4 events within the season, and then each event we're awarding points based off of your percentage as a um, or your time as a percentage of the winning time in that race. So every second counts, which is really exciting. It's not solely place based. So yeah, an example: the winner receives a maximum of 100 points, and then everyone will get a percentage of that maximum. We have both the men's and women's division. And prizes for all finishers of the cup, as well as for the overall winners and podium finishers. So for the winners, we're calling it the King and Queen of the White Mountains. So those winners will be getting an invitation to join the Aravaipa Northeast Racing Team for 2026, which is really exciting. Um, and yeah, we also have some other fun, exciting things in the work for the series, so stay tuned on those. Yeah, Marilyn, what excites you most about the cup, would you say?
I think that it brings out so many more athletes of all levels to the races because the sub ultra distance I think is something that it just opens it up to so many more people
Yeah.
to get involved in the races. And then when they're doing the series, it just adds to that excitement that they're going to do all four races or three of the four races, whatever they decide to do. Adds to the excitement, and just to see them all coming back at to each of the races, the same group of people, and just watching the camaraderie, amongst all of them is exciting.
Yeah, I feel like by the end of last season, it was, all these familiar faces coming back
Mm-hmm.
for Kilkenny and
Yeah.
um yeah, just, the new friendships formed from that. And even though these, athletes were some of them competing for, literally it was a matter of a couple points in that final race. But just, yeah, a lot of support out there
Mm-hmm.
amongst each other. And yeah, this is a way, it's not solely about the top runners just to finish, the cup and complete it. That's a challenging four races for sure. So big props to anyone who, yeah, is completing three of the four or all four. Super impressive. And yeah, last year's top finishers, just to what I was saying earlier in terms of how close it was, Max Prozik with 279 points kind of came from behind in that last race at Kilkenny,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, beat Peter Bonito by just 3 points. So Peter was 276 points. Literally, it came down to a few minutes at the finish line separating them. And then Mike Conley with 272 points. And yeah, we'll get into this later, but Max, I mean, he started the season with Chakura and you know, had a decent race, but like not sort of what he was, maybe hoping for. I think he was 11th for the men, and each race continued to like make great strides forward and improve from one race to the other, and yeah, come out with the win in the cup. So that was pretty cool. And then on the ladies' side, it was even closer than the men. Yeah, Haley Heinrich with 292 points. And then Abby Bennett just 2 points behind, 290 points. Also, yeah, came down to the wire and at that final race at Kilkenny. And Lindsay Weigel with 270 points. So yeah, just some really tight racing across the whole series. Yeah, so like we said, you're automatically entered in the White Mountain Endurance Cup if you are running Chakura, and we'll be posting, the initial standings and points after the race. So keep an eye out for those. Well, with that said, let's dive into this Saturday's race. Um, yeah, Chocorua Mountain Race. It's one of the OGs for White Mountain Endurance races, going all the way back to 2018. I feel like it's just, embodies everything that the Northeast sort of, trail running scene is about. It's just this iconic, classic mountain race, race up to the summit and back down. Um, yeah, just super. I don't know. It just feels like this really special course. Um, Tamworth, New Hampshire, where it's hosted, is this same town as White Lakes just a month ago, but very different in terms of terrain.
Very.
Um, and yeah, I love how at White Lakes you can see the peak of Chakura in the distance across the lake. It's like sort of a little sign at what's to come. So yeah, the course, 23K, right around 14 miles. And yeah, whopping 4,800 feet of climbing. So it's certainly, yeah, no joke. before we dive into the course itself or some of the details, maybe Marilyn, you could share, yeah, just some of the updates coming into this weekend, just the schedule people can expect, as well as some of the requirements around mandatory gear and
Sure.
such.
Yeah. So the race, the start finish is at the end of Scott Road on the Corson family farm. So Scott Road is the road that the Hammond Trailhead is on, which the Hammond Trail is the first trail that the runners will take. So it's at the end of Scott Road on the Corson family farm. And on Friday, we have packet pickup from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. right there on the farm. It's in the house, actually. They have a screened porch on the house. So we're hosting it right inside the screened porch. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Friday. And then we have packet pickup again Saturday morning before the race from 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. And as far as the venue itself goes, Friday, I know we have had people ask about camping. There is no camping allowed there at the start finish on the farm. It is private property that they're allowing us to host this race on, which is really great. But there is no camping on the property. And then Saturday, as the runners arrive for packet pickup, we also will do the gear check at that time. So if you do pick up your packet on Friday night, then on Saturday morning, you will have to have your gear checked, but you can just go straight to the gear check line. You won't have to wait in the line for packet pickup. So for the mandatory gear, it's 1 liter of fluids, 400 calories of food, and some sort of a windbreaker or rain jacket, and then also a space blanket or emergency, just one of the little emergency foil blankets.
Yeah.
And depending on the weather, we could change it at the last minute. The extended forecast, I don't see this happening now, but like if there were like snow or freezing rain, then obviously we would add some other gear. But at this point, it's just looking like rain. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the required gear. And also, another thing to note when you do arrive to the race on Saturday morning, we are doing the parking in the field, and space will be limited. We are sold out. The race is sold out. So we have a full house, and we do have a very specific section of the field that we need to stay in. So we will have crew and staff there to direct the parking. So we thank you for your patience while we
Yeah.
are doing that. We have to just make sure that we kind of, feed everybody in and get everybody parked where they need to be parked. So we will be helping with that. And so that's it as far as that goes. And then at the finish, we have which everybody loves, the tin can food truck will be there with their crepes and bowls. So after you finish, you will receive a meal ticket. Every runner gets a meal from the tin can food truck. And you also will receive a ticket for Papa Bean's ice cream, of course. So after you finish, there will be food, ice cream, music. It's a great place to hang out in the field and watch, other runners as they're coming in, and just hang out and talk with everyone about, what an
Yeah.
awesome race it was. And we will have, for the aid stations at the start finish line, we'll have hydration. We'll have water and sodas. The sodas, Coca-Cola, ginger ale, Mountain Dew, and Tailwind. And we have one remote aid station, which is about 6-ish miles in. It's at the Liberty Trailhead, so it's 6, maybe a little bit less than 6 miles.
Mm-hmm.
We have the remote aid station, which will have hydration, and that includes water, Tailwind, sodas, Coca-Cola, Mountain Dew, ginger ale. And then we'll have snacks like pretzels, chips, cookies, trail mix, pickles, and some fruit. We'll have oranges, bananas, and watermelon there at that aid station. We do encourage the runners to refill there at that aid station when you go through. And then at the 10-ish mile mark, which is the summit, we will have water at the summit checkpoint, and we will have timing up there as well. So they have the timing gun that they'll just be scanning people as you tag the summit.
Nice. Yeah, no, I like you said, definitely refill at that aid station. It's a long way up to the top from there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that
yeah.
climb up the Brook Trail is is a tough one, so
It's yeah, pretty gnarly. So,
mhm.
and then yeah, at the top they'll, like you said, only have water. So also make sure you grab lots of snacks,
Yeah.
even if it's on the go. Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, let's maybe, well, yeah, I'll kind of dive into the course a little bit just to take runners through what they can look forward to. Like Marilyn said, you start right in the field. Um, Kind of weave your way through the field and around the cars and quickly hop onto the single track of the Hammond Trail. Um, and it starts pretty flowy and quick, I would say. It narrows out really quick. So if you are, looking to, get up to the front, make your move early before
Mhm.
it narrows out. But yeah, I would say it's a pretty quick, fast feeling start. And then yeah, then it starts to get steep. But it's still like not, because it is sort of under the trees. It's a lot more like dirt and roots,
Mhm.
than rock, which you'll get a lot more of the rocks later. So it's about 2.75 miles, and I think just under 2,000 feet of climbing, on Hammond, um, until uh, you'll make that left hand turn at the Liberty Trail Junction. And yeah, take note of that first 2.75 miles, because at the end you'll also be descending that. So you'll get a little preview of your final few miles. So yeah, you'll get up to that turn at Liberty Trail Junction right around 2.75 miles. Take that sharp left, and then you're greeted with a nice descent. So almost, I think, 1,600 feet of descending, uh, all the way down to that aid station that Marilyn described. That's, I think, a little before 6 miles. And yeah, pretty quick descent. Um, and from that aid station, you'll enter, I think, the Forest Service trailhead, and it's some rolling single track for a little bit. So you can find your flow there before things start to get real steep. And yeah, then you're just then you're making that big climb up to the summit, which is right around 10 miles. And yeah, in the last, I don't know, what would you say, the last half mile or so is where you start to pop out out of the trees onto the slabs, or
Yeah, the top part of the
on.
Brook Trail. And that's
Okay.
when you come out of the trees to the top part of the Brook Trail, that's where it's really, really steep
Yep.
slab section there, that you're definitely using your hands on.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just a little bit further until you get to the junction of the Bad Weather Junction. And then that's where the runners take the left onto the West Side Trail.
Okay.
So instead of the course doesn't go straight up to the summit, the
Yep.
West Side Trail and go around
Loop
the Piper
around.
to the Piper Trail and then the Piper Trail up to the summit.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's so that climb from kind of just past the aid station to the summit is 2,500 feet. So, that's most of the climbing right there.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, once you tag that summit, and like Marilyn was mentioning, there will be some water up there as well as timing. Um, then you kind of pick your path down the slabs. They'll be pretty slick on Saturday if the rain holds true. So be careful up there. And then yeah, there's a great video of Abby Bennett descending from the summit last
Yeah.
year, and navigating some of that terrain. So yeah, the first section of that descent is quite quite steep, quite technical. Yeah, just lots of rocks and some sections where you'll, probably be getting on your you're probably using all fours just to make your way down. And then once you kind of get back to that intersection that we talked about earlier, where you took that initial left to head down to the aid station, that's where things start to open up a lot. You can really, yeah, just open up your stride if you're feeling it there, in that final descent down to the finish. Um, there's a few river and brook crossings throughout, so you'll definitely get wet. Obviously, it'll be raining. You'll definitely get wet, but your feet will certainly be wet from some of those crossings. Yeah, it's just pretty dynamic course. I like that. There's both these really runnable sections, some, like you said, hand rock climbing, and then yeah, it ends with a pretty fast finish back into the field. Um, and before we go into some of the top contenders to expect on Saturday, in terms of some of the fast times that we've seen in the past, the first couple years of the race saw a different course. So 2018 and 2019, if you look at the times from that years, they were, very quick, but the course was a little different, a little less climbing and more runnable. And then kind of post 2019 is more, you know, well, what's most similar to, this year's course. Also weather, like, that can be a huge influence, whether it's wet and slick out there, or also like last year it was actually pretty sunny, but also pretty hot. It got pretty hot up at the top, and once you get out of the tree line and you're exposed up on those slabs, you certainly can feel the heat. Um, this year it looks like a mix of both wet and hot. So that'll be fun. But yeah, the course records, in terms of most similarity to this course, Jordan Fields in 2022, running 2:16:51, and then Abby Bennett last year in 2024 running 2:47:35. So yeah, pretty crazy to think that they ran it in, 2.5 hours or quicker.
Yeah.
Marylyn, what's the total time that is allotted out on the course? I think it's
I have to
maybe,
look that. I have to
I
look that up.
think
I have it.
9 hours,
I
I
have it right
think.
here. Oh, you found it first. Yep, 9 hours.
9 hours. So yeah, that puts it in perspective of that 2 hours is quite crazy. So yeah, let's dive into some of our top runners. We have several returning runners on both the men's and women's side, as well as quite a few newcomers, which, I think just the White Mountain Endurance Cup and the stories from last year and the excitement around that has drawn quite a few new runners to the mix. So yeah, really excited to see them get after it. In terms of the women, we'll start there. We have Joanna from our Aravaipa racing team. She uh, was second in 2023, which was a pretty wet year. And she'll be our top returning runner, as well as Elizabeth Fay, who ran with us last year, and who was, I think, eighth place in the race last year. And so those are our two top returning runners. And then we have a whole host of new contenders in the mix, starting with Britta Clark, who holds numerous FKTs around the Northeast, on both, yeah, you know, all sorts of stuff in the whites, as well as she is got some serious leg speed. So she was fifth place at JFK 50 miler last year. Um, and yeah, really excited to see what how she does on this course. And hopefully she'll be joining us for some of the other races in the series. We also have Heidi Allen joining us from Arizona, who is a member of the Aravaipa team out there. Some really strong results out west. She'll also be joining us for Jigger Johnson 100 miler in August. So she's getting a little time out on the Beast Coast to prep her legs for August and Jigger Johnson. So go Heidi. We have Anika Rolick, who was second place at the 2023 Jigger Johnson 50, as well as had numerous other strong results in the Northeast. Gabriel Flanders, Denali Balser, Alyssa Malley from Honolulu. That's exciting. Coming all the way from Hawaii. Ariana Pike. She was third at Baldface Scramble 14K last year. And then also Elsa Cipriani, who was our 24-hour winner at White Lake Ultras this year with a new course record. So she is a master of it all, both the super long stuff and the shorter or relatively shorter mountain races. So yeah, I'd say, there's a lot of people in the mix for those top spots. So yeah, it'll be an exciting race to follow along. Diving into the men, we have several returners, starting with Max, who, as we mentioned, was the Cup winner last year. So he's back to defend his title in the Cup. He's also a newly minted member of the Aravaipa racing team, thanks to his victory at the Cup last year. So excited to see him in the Aravaipa kit. Owen Glover, who was in the top 5 last year for the White Mountain Endurance Cup. He ran a 9th place finish at Chakura last year. And similar to Max, both of them are coming from the Boston area. They're not living right like in the mountains. And so feel like just extra like impressive just the performances they're putting out, and I feel like each race they just sort of leveled up a little bit. So yeah, excited to have Owen joining us for another Cup season. Andrew Gallant, who was 10th at last year's Chocorua Mountain Race, as well as Luke Spooner, who back in 2023 was 11th. And then, yeah, quite a few newcomers to the men's field. We have Mead Binhammer, who is 2024 Jigger Johnson 50-mile champion, absolutely demolished that course with a new course record last year. So he'll be stepping down in distance. I feel like he's kind of known for his ultras around the Northeast. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see what he can do in that 23K distance. Carter Tracy, who just coming off a big win in the 6-hour at White Lake Ultras this year. It was fun to chat with him after the race, and I think I know he committed to the whole Cup series. So yeah, I love to see that. I think he has a lot to prove out there, and is gonna really be up at the front. He's not afraid to mix it up in the front pack, and excited to see what Carter can do. Also, we have Matthew Walker, who's coming off a strong race at Sunapee Scramble this past weekend, as well as Ryan Richer, who I also saw out at Sunapee with a solid performance out there. Sunapee Scramble, I feel like is a nice sort of, I don't know, get the legs going for this weekend. So that I'm sure primed them well. We have Aaron Barber also joining from Arizona. He will also be running the Jigger Johnson 100 miler. So excited to see him out there. Let's see. We have Jonathan McKierney. We have Ian Schultes of New York, who has a lot of solid results on really technical races around here. We have Aaron Epps from Vermont, Austin Frank, who was both second at the Kilkenny Ridge 25 miler last year, as well as 5th place at the Jigger Johnson 20 miler. We have our 14K winner at the Baldface Scramble, Jordan Pike. And one more name to mention, Sam Galati, who's joining from Utah with a lot of solid results. So, yeah, it's interesting. We have people from, both all over New England as well as well outside of New England.
Mhm.
And you mentioned Maryland. We have someone even from outside the U.S. As well. Where are they coming from?
From South America.
South
Yeah.
America. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I love just any opportunity to showcase, the White Mountains and the trails out here. Um, so yeah, those are some of our headliners in the field. I'm sure there's some other names that may have been missed in that mix. But yeah, it's gonna be a good race. And for those who aren't running but want to follow along from afar, we'll have uh, live results on Aravaipa live timing, so you can tune in there. We'll have a couple checkpoints. Is it just the summit, or also the aid station will have
We
timing?
we are going to set up a timing at the remote aid station.
Okay.
It's just to be determined if, as far as the service goes, we
Yeah.
are going to set up a Starlink because there is no cell service there, so we can't use the cell for the timing machine. But we are going to set up a Starlink. But there's so much tree cover there that
Yep.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I just went down there again this weekend just to check out the road, see the condition, and just to see the aid station area, just to see how, what condition it was in as far as like blowdowns or anything like that. And in looking at the tree, there is a lot of tree cover, so I'm just not
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
how well the
To
Starlink
be
is going to work.
determined.
Yeah, but we are going to set it up, so
Okay.
hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, I mean, for those unfamiliar with the whites and those familiar, it's pretty remote. So, in terms of the live aspects of things, that's what we can hope for, and but also, yeah, just it's almost expected that things are going to be maybe a little bit slower going with just the remote nature of the course. We will also be pushing out updates on social media, so make sure to follow us there on the White Mountain Endurance on Instagram as well as Facebook, and we're also on Strava, and so we'll be posting some updates throughout the race and some videos as well. And yeah, lastly, I guess if you want to come out to volunteer, I think we still have some open spots to volunteer. We always appreciate having volunteers at the White Mountain Endurance races. It's a great way to, yeah, just get exposed to the scene, cheer on your friends, make new friends, and also you earn credits for
Yeah.
future races. So that's a nice perk as well. Um, Awesome. Well, Marilyn, any closing thoughts
I
before?
yeah, I did just want to add one more thing, and I will mention this
Yeah.
again on race morning, before the start. But just, we do encourage you to go onto the race website and download a GPX of the race
Yes.
course so that you have it in your phone or in your watch. We are going to mark the course, but last year we did have quite a few people that did take a wrong turn at one of the junctions. There are quite a few junctions throughout the race, so you do just be mindful as you're going through the junctions. They will be marked. We're going to make sure that we mark them even more this year, and so that make sure that you do follow the marked flags
Yeah.
on the course. But we do encourage you to also download the maps that you do have that.
Yeah, I think the map is very important. And yeah, just because you see a runner ahead of you doesn't mean they're necessarily on course either. So I
Right.
think that is often what happens where if,
Yes.
one person makes a mistake, then others are bound to follow.
Mhm.
So make sure that you're, yeah, not necessarily relying on the people around you to follow the course. In terms of the markings, they can, yeah, what can runners expect to see in for markings? Are they
It'll be red flag, like red, like the tape that we'll tie onto
tape?
the trees.
Yep,
And we will have some signs,
a few
but it'll
arrows.
mostly be
Yeah.
the red
Okay.
tape, which I'll also show at the start. I'll show everybody what it looks like.
Yeah.
And at the junctions, we'll make sure that we put them more frequently. So there's a lot to show you that
Yeah.
this is definitely the way that you go. And then, so that way, if you go a certain distance and you haven't seen any red flags, then you might want to check. to make sure you're going the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say we haven't seen like a flag for more than like,
We
I
do
don't
it.
even know, like a couple minutes, then you probably should turn
Yeah,
around.
it's usually pretty much like every quarter of a mile. But at junctions, we'll put more just so that you know that you are definitely going the right direction.
Okay.
You made the right turn.
Yeah.
Right turn.
Awesome. Um, Sweet. Well, yeah. Also, yeah, if you're unfamiliar with the trails there, we've mentioned it a couple times, but both Ethan and Cody produced some great videos from the past 2 years of Chocorua Mountain Race, so you can find those on the race website as well as on their Viper Running YouTube. Um, 2023 was a pretty slick and wet year, so with this year looking like it might be similar to that, you can check out that video to see what to expect. But yeah, I think that is all. So we're excited to see everybody either Friday evening for packet pickup or bright and early Saturday morning. Yeah, thanks, Marylyn, for joining to preview the race.
Thank you.
And yeah, I will see you this weekend. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in for another episode of the White Mountain Endurance Podcast.